Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Welcome to this week's edition of AINU. This program is produced by Batrisyia Afrina and I am your host, Shaikh Saifuddeen bin Salleh. AINU is a program that explores and discusses issues on artificial intelligence, or AI for short, from the perspective of Islam. Ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, we will discuss a topic entitled Mankind's Spirituality in the Natural and Digital Worlds. And to discuss this issue, we have with us in the studio Saudara Mohd Izzuddin bin Hasanudin, Research Monitoring Executive at the Research Management Unit IKIM. Assalamualaikum and welcome to AINU, Saudara Izzuddin.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm happy that you could join us this afternoon for our discussion. Right, before we proceed with our discussion, I would like to also add that Saudara Izzuddin is one of the members of the research project under IKIM, which is on artificial intelligence ethical framework from an Islamic perspective. And basically what we're going to discuss today has to do with that project. So, Saudara Izzuddin, as I mentioned earlier, the topic is mankind's spirituality in the natural and digital worlds. To start off, could you share with us what is the meaning of man from the perspective of Islam?
Thank you, Dr. Shaikh, for inviting me into this session. So when we talk about man or human from the Islamic viewpoint, we must refer back to the Quran. What words or terms used in Quran referring to man or human. And I found that Quran uses three specific terms. First is bashar, second is insan, and the third one is Bani Adam or Zuriyah Adam. Bashar refers to physical and psychological traits which are universally shared among human. And insan refers to the totality of human being, which are body and the soul, the dual element of human, but with differences in the aspect of spirituality and the faith and the character. And the Bani Adam or Zuriyah Adam refers to human as the descendants of Adam alayhi salam. So when we go through the Quran, as emphasized in the Surah At-Tin, verse 4, Allah says that you have indeed created man in the best mold. This verse indicates that humans are created in the best form, either physically and spiritually. And yet in Surah At-Tin, the verse 5, Allah wants us that we will fall from this honored status when we stray from Allah's guidance.
So with that introduction, we can see that man is not just a physical creature, but man is also a spiritual creature. And I think that is very much in line with what Islam, how Islam looks at mankind. We know that Islam puts a great emphasis on spirituality. That's why in the many teachings of Islam, focus is given not only from the physical aspect but also from the spiritual aspect, because we are aiming for success both in this world and also in the hereafter. Now, looking from this angle, what is the basis of spirituality when it comes to the advancement of science and technology?
Thank you, Dr. Shaikh. When we discuss about the spirituality basis or foundation of the advancement of science and technology, we must understand the important relationships of human within this world. And there are three forms of relationship involving human, which are first the relationship with Allah, hablum min Allah, and second the relationship with fellow men, hablum min nas, and the last one is the relationship with nature, hablum min al alam. By understanding this important relationship, we will be able to put the technology, including AI technology, in its rightful place within the context of man's interaction with Allah, fellow men, and nature. And in Islam, we as Muslim believe that Allah is one and only God, the creator, the sustainer of the universe. And on the other hand, man is the best creation of Allah, as I mentioned before. And as Imam Al-Ghazali mentioned, human or man consists of two essential dimensions, which are the physical and the spiritual dimension. And man created in this world with roles and responsibility not given to other beings, which are the roles of servant of Allah, to worship Allah, to do all His commandment and to not do all His prohibition. And the second one is the Khalifah, the vicegerent, to govern and to maintain the world, the stability and the balance of the world. And AI, considered as the creation of man, is in fact merely a product of developed by man using the intellectual capacity and creativity bestowed by Allah upon him. So basically, we can say that AI is just a tool or medium for man used to facilitate its life within this worldly life.
Right. So interesting that you mentioned about the three-dimensional relationship that mankind has. One is with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. The second is between men themselves, and also man and nature. Interestingly, we also have a program, Man and Nature, on IKIM FM. But going back to our discussion regarding AI, you've briefly mentioned that AI is the product of man's ingenuity or intelligence, creativity and innovation. So based on what you have explained earlier, how does Islam view the advancement of technology, including artificial intelligence or AI? Are we saying that we should have another dimension aside from the three dimensions that we already have?
Okay. I understand the question. From my perspective, I think we do not need to have any dimension to put another dimension of interaction, just because Islam see technology or any tools as a tools to facilitate human in doing activities or works in their life. So I think the Islamic view on technological advancement must emphasize on the ethical use of technology in ways that bring benefits and do not cause harm and do not contradict with the principle of Islam. So we just see as a man, as a human, from this Islamic perspective, we see technology, including AI, is just mere tools that facilitate our life.
Right. So you mentioned about ethics.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely, when we talk about science, when we talk about technology, there are aspects of ethics that we have to be aware of, that we have to practice in order to make sure that whatever that we do is responsible, ethical, and does not go against the teachings of Islam and also the norms of the society. And we know that when we talk about AI technology, there are so many ethical issues that come with it. But we also agree that AI is something that can be beneficial for our lives. As you have said, AI is a tool that makes our lives easier, more efficient. So what then would be the best ethical approach when it comes to applications of AI technology? We know that there are so many applications. So what would be the ethical approach that we can look at and also emulate and also inculcate when it comes to using AI?
Okay. When we talk about ethics, it is generally about the principle of what is good, what is bad, what is right, but what is wrong. And there is two perspectives regarding ethics foundation. And first one is the viewpoint that sees ethics is grounded in religion, in the divine. And second, a perspective that sees humans' intellects as the basis that distinguish good or bad and right or wrong. So from the Islamic perspective or Islamic view of point, there are some difference between Western ethical framework and Islamic ethical framework, and it is the Islamic ethical framework is based on Quran and Sunnah. However, Quran and Sunnah do not give clear or detail on issue that is contemporary. So a scholar, Islamic scholar, highlighted that maqasid shariah as the ethical framework that could be used to see any contemporary or current issues regarding what is happening today, like AI and so on.
So what you're saying is that to look at ethics of AI technology, we have to go to the framework that is presented under the maqasid shariah.
Yeah.
And we know that maqasid shariah has 5 principles: preservation of religion, hifzuddin, preservation of life, hifzun nafs, preservation of the intellect, hifzul aqal, preservation of the progeny, hifzul nasal, and preservation of the property, hifzul mal. So, and as you mentioned, many would look at the maqasid as the Islamic ethical framework for many issues, not just for AI. Now, in this regard, how does maqasid shariah fit as the ethical framework for AI?
From my readings on these issues or this topic, the principle of maslahah within this maqasid shariah is one of the important aspect in ethical assessment regarding any technology, including AI technology. Maslahah referred to as public interest or welfare explains that the purpose of every commandment or prohibition found in the Quran and Sunnah is to bring benefit and to prevent harm. However, from the Western perspective, public interest is often associated with the materialistic and the worldly benefits alone, which does not fully capture the principle of maslahah in Islam. In Islam, the principle of maslahah encompasses 2 key elements, which are the elements of benefits and utility, and the element of ethical values derived from the revelation, such as justice, al-adl, compassion, ihsan, human dignity, karamah insaniyah, and others. So in the construction of Islamic ethical frameworks for AI based on maqasid shariah must align or follow the discipline of the usul fiqh and qawaid fiqhiyah, legal maxim, to prevent any deviation from its rules.
I think that's one of the challenges that we face, because in many instances we see that when people talk about science, when we talk about technology and ethics, when people look at the maqasid, people do not look at the usul fiqh. So because of this, we tend to have people applying maqasid in the sense that they're looking at the end goal or the objectives. So much so that sometimes we have a situation where just the ends justifies the means. Whereas in Islam, we also need to look at the usul fiqh to ensure that not only the ends is correct from the Islamic perspective, but the means, how we do it, must also conform to Islamic teaching. Perhaps a brief response from you regarding this matter.
From my perspective, the things that you said is essential, because somehow people just use the term maqasid just to apply it freely without the discipline, because the usul fiqh, we know how Islamic scholar establish the rulings from the Quran, the discipline, so that will not go astray or deviate from the objective, and the means is right. I think that's it.
So I think basically what you're saying is that whenever we want to talk about ethics from the Islamic perspective, and whenever we want to apply maqasid shariah, we must never forget to also consult the experts in the area of fiqh and usul fiqh, so that whatever rulings or whatever suggestions that are made will not go astray from the actual Islamic teaching. Now, Shaikh Izzuddin, perhaps I think this is the most important question to you from my perspective anyway. We're talking about AI and you. So how can we apply Islamic ethics in using AI?
I think I will just answer briefly, because the application is wide. The application of AI is widely used. So in the Islamic perspective, all human action and behaviors, including interaction with technology, must align and not contradict with the principle of Islam based on the Quran and Sunnah. So the use of artificial intelligence, AI technology, involving automated decision making, big data and machine learning must be evaluated from the perspective of Islamic law and ethics. For example, AI used in the healthcare and medical sector for disease diagnosis must comply with Islamic principles related to treatment or medication, such as avoiding harm to patients, maintaining the privacy and confidentiality of patient information, and ensuring accuracy and fairness in the diagnosis process. Another example is the use of AI in the economic sectors, such as stock trading, banking, muamalah, must adhere the Islamic principles concerning economics and Islamic transaction, including justice, transparency, and avoiding elements of riba and gharar, uncertainty. And the last example I want to put is the use of artificial intelligence technology that touch upon aspect of human social life, such as social media and communication application, must consider social and cultural impacts and ensure that the use of such technology does not lead to social harm, such as the spread of slander, fraud and privacy violation, amongst others.
Right. We know that ethics is important, but the challenge for us is how do we instill ethics among the users of AI? And we also know that the younger generation today, they live, when they are born into a world where AI is already there. In other words, they are what we call as digital natives. So in your opinion, how best can we instill ethics with regards to using AI, especially to the younger generation?
From my point of view, I think the education is important. It's education. It's just not about schools, university, but it's start from the house, from the home. So parents need to educate their children about the use of AI responsibly and ethically, and then the responsibility of the educators,
The teachers.
The teachers.
So basically, the inculcation of ethics has to start at home, and then strengthen at the education level in schools and later on in colleges and universities, and hopefully with that we can have a generation who will use AI in a responsible and ethical manner. But again, I think the thing about starting education at home is that when it comes to parents who are from the older generation, people like me, AI is something that comes after we have lived for some years, and definitely it's a challenge for parents of the earlier generation to adapt and even understand the many applications of AI. So therein lies the challenge for parents to instill ethics for something that they may not fully understand. So what would be your suggestion to people like me, parents of the older generation, people who have to adopt to a technology that was not there when we were born?
Okay, that is interesting question to be answered. I think the government or NGOs can create awareness first to join to call all the parents to participate in exploring this. First, we need to explore the technology first, and then after that we will know what is wrong and what is good about the technology. And then when the parent itself experience the application, they will know how to engage with their children.
Right. So awareness needs to be the start for parents to understand the technology. So as someone who is of that generation, I think that is something that can be done, but it comes with a number of challenges. So Izzuddin, we still have some time actually for our discussion. So you mentioned about instilling ethics or applying ethics in using AI in several sectors. Nowadays, we know that AI is widely used by students, as you mentioned, in universities, for example, where students may use generative AI such as ChatGPT to help them do their assignments. But where do we draw the line between using ChatGPT or any generative AI, for example, for that matter, to assist us in completing our assignments, and where do we draw the line between that and outsourcing our thinking process to the technology? How do we ensure that the students use AI in a manner that they do not outsource their thinking to the technology?
Okay, I think first of all, we need to clear that AI is just a tool, not to replace people or men in using their intellect. So I think to make a to solve this problem, I think first of all, the university or the Ministry of Education need to have some sort of guidelines regarding the use of this kind of AI generative technology or application, and then the educators, the teachers, the lecturers need to change their way of teaching, their way of evaluating the works of the students, right. And then they need to instill the ethics, I think.
I think I agree with you on that point, because when technology comes, definitely people will use the technology. Yeah. So the educators need to re-strategize. They need to adapt their way of teaching and also evaluating the assignments. For example, I've been told in some universities, one way to ensure that the students themselves have the knowledge of what the assignment is about. Not only do they have to send in a written assignment, but they also have to present to ensure that they understand what is it that they are doing, and not just merely outsourcing the thinking process to AI and then produce the assignment and submit the assignment to the lecturers. Again, this is something that is challenging for today's educators. I remember back in the day when I was in the university, when we want to do assignments, there is no other way but to go to the library and search for the references manually. Physically. In fact, you can't. There wasn't even a database system that you can just log in and search for the book. You have to look at the
physical books,
the physical register of the library to locate where the book is. And sometimes when you have located where the book is, when you go to the shelf, the book is not there because somebody has already borrowed the book. Yeah. So that was the challenge back then. But today things are easier. Students don't even have to go to the library to access for the references that they need. All they need to do is just to type, and most of the references are already in digital form. And with generative AI, some don't even bother to use the database at the library. They just use generative AI to generate whatever references or information that they require. But the problem with that is, of course, generative AI can also hallucinate. Some of the information that we get may not be accurate. It may be false information. And again, I think this is where educators, teachers and lecturers have to remind the students that whenever they use generative AI, they have to make sure to authenticate and check the facts, making sure that the references are accurate and it is not a made-up reference, because ChatGPT tend to do that. So any advice, Saudara Izzuddin, to students when it comes to using generative AI for their learning process?
My advice to the students, I think, but in using AI, ChatGPT, and any else, I think the first thing we come back to the maqasid of shariah. to preserve the preservation of akal. We do not put the what we call the
Thinking process.
thinking process that is akal, the thinking process by akal, we give it to the AI. So we basically we make ourselves as a tool to the AI.
So instead, the AI should be the tool for us and not the other way around. So the important point there is that we should not outsource our thinking to technology, and this is something that has to be reminded to everyone, not just students, I think to everyone, ourselves included, because sometimes we want to take the easy way out. We just use the technology and outsource our thinking process to AI. Right, thank you, Saudara Izzuddin, for sharing some of your thoughts with us on the topic mankind's spirituality in the natural and digital worlds. I think one take-home key point is for us to ensure that when we use AI, we have to use it responsibly in line with the role of mankind as servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also as the Khalifa or vicegerent on this world. And we have to ensure that whatever that we do conforms to Islamic teachings, making sure that whatever that we do is based on amar ma'ruf nahi munkar. Whatever that we do should be aligned to doing good, and also we should refrain or avoid ourselves from doing things that are prohibited in Islam. I think this is an important topic actually that we should give attention to, especially now that AI is part and parcel of our lives, whether we realize it or not, whether we like it or not. We need to be aware as to how to utilize AI technology in a manner suitable from the perspective of Islam. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the program. That's all the time that we have for this week's edition of AINU. Before we end, I would like to again express my gratitude to Saudara Mohd Izzuddin bin Hasanudin for agreeing to be a guest in this program today, for sharing his views in this week's AINU. And for the last 30 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to AINU. Inshallah, next week we'll be back with another interesting topic with another guest. I am Shaikh Muhammad Saifuddeen by Shaikh Muhammad Salleh, signing off until next week. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.